Hello and welcome back. Today we are continuing with the Fanhome Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Megazord build, and we will be doing issue or parts 8 through 11, which are going to be the left and right saber-tooth tiger legs. These were parts I previously did in the first section of the build, so I'm aware these both connect together. They're both near identical builds, and given these 4 bits specifically essentially connect together, I thought I might as well just do this in one video. So moving on and getting started without further ado. Okay, so here we have the 2 packages, and we then have the front left leg to begin with. Initially, the leg joint bolt will plug in. So you want the screw bolt part to be plugging into the connector. There are 2 flat edges which will align with the flat edges there. This is really tough, so what you're going to want to do is find a soft surface you can, what I should say is a soft firm surface you can push down onto, which won't damage it or the surface, but will allow you to get this situated without issue. There we go. Then we'll take our wheel and connect this over like so. 2 of the PB screws to lock it into place. So then these 2 bits connect together. That just slides through there, and that will plug in there. Like that then sits over, and a screw will hold it in place. There we go, that's a nice firm connection. And the last bit is the back of the connectors. They'll lock in like so, and then we just need 4 screws to hold that in place. There we go, and that is part 9, part 8 even. Done. We can then move on to part 9, which will be the front left leg again. This piece and one of the screw bolts. Again, it just needs pushing in. There it is. Like so. Then we need our leg, or our foot rather. This will connect over like so, with this connecting on. There we go. Then we want our leg itself, and our hip joint. This will line up and just plug in with the hinge bolt, like so. Then we want this foot, and that will line up and connect in with a bit of force. There we go. So that is like that. Take our other side of the leg, flip them together, and then 2 screws to hold them in place. One, 2, and we need 2 of our covers, so this one and that bit. We'll have a spare screw left over, and that will be used to cover this at a future point. Plugs in nicely. Same with the little square bit that plugs in like so, and that is our left leg and foot complete. Move on to the right leg, which is essentially the same as the first. The same as the first, so need connector port. Again, this is going to be a stiff fit, so you're going to want a soft, firm surface. Let's just push it all the way in, like so. And the leg unit for the wheel. So this will clip onto that as shown. Okay. The cover plates as before. That's that done. Cover plate, screw. Two and three. So who else is collecting this model? Have you gone for the one-off purchase, or are you doing it monthly? And if you're doing it monthly, have you had similar issues to what I've described with the Fanhome? Monthly deliveries. I think I heard that potentially that Fanhome have now charged fans or collectors, sorry, for issues or parts 4 and 5 at the same time. So that's kind of poor management. And again, with as far as I'm aware, no notifications of what's happening, when items will be dispatched, etc., etc. Then we can move on to our front leg. Again, we need the foot, our connector, and our pin. This will go over like that. Again, this needs to be pushed in as hard as it will go. Plugged on, plugged in, and screwed this, and that's the one. There we go. Wire those two up, push that in, connect. Remember the leg. Connect that. Connect those. Screw both of them in. So, besides the Megazord one, is there anyone else out there doing any of the other Fanhome builds? How have they been for you? I know the Enterprise model is finally starting to finish with collectors. That looks stunning. It really does. And it was a very hard press for me to pass on that one. And I mostly pass on it solely because there is literally nowhere I have where I could store or display that piece. Obviously this is going to be size-wise something similar, but instead of going lengthways, it's going to go in height, which isn't so bad for displaying. But yeah, I would have loved the Enterprise kit. I know there's the Iron Spider one, which to be honest looks quite disappointing to me because there's just no articulation, so you've just got sort of a solid statue. The Iron Man one might be nice though. That's just flown out. Instructions don't tell you to, but you might want to consider a tiny spot of super glue for these bits just to, yeah, so I'm just going to get a tiny spot of super glue on both of those just to hold them in place. One and two, and that is issues 8 through to 11 complete. We now have our 2 legs. Bring us around for some final thoughts. There we go. So here we have our 2 legs ready. As you can see here, it's quite a sizable piece. We've got the saber-toothed tiger head, so that's going to probably be somewhere similar to about there-ish, give or take. So it's a sizable piece. Yeah, these are all made of ABS plastic, so there's no die-cast metal in there. I would have liked covers for these bottom screws. I know we're never going to see the bottom of the feet, but given the high-end nature of this, I can't see that it would have cost anything else to have just given us a cover for the screw ports there, similar to these. But it is what it is. I'm certain something that I could easily find a way of covering if I so desire. But yeah, there we have it. It's coming along nicely. I think next we start moving on to the Mastodon head, and then I think it's the Triceratops head, but that will be in future videos. Continuing with our closeout, we can continue looking at this week in Power Rangers. So episode 8 would have been Eye Guy, Free Willy, and this is the infamous Eye Guy monster episode, which you can see down there. We get our episode summary and some episode pictures. Balkan Skull and Drag, which I feel was a joke you just couldn't get away with in these modern days, even though no harm was intended or thought with that. Interesting fact for this episode is, for the first time, Finster does not use his monster-matic machine to create Eye-Guy. Instead, he appears as if by magic, created from the fusion of numerous eyes of various sizes. Episode 9 is For Whom the Bells Troll. Nightmare at Angel Grove. This is the episode where Trini has a nightmare and her troll, Mr. Tickle Sneezer, is stolen. Here we have the troll himself. I think this is also the episode where, during the Megazord fight, you can accidentally see a small boy stood next to the Megazord, which is obviously from the original Zoo Ranger footage. Interesting fact for this episode is, in the first script of the episode, the idea of Trina's dream was not contemplated. However, it was added because the producers did not want to erase the possibility that Mr. Tickle Sneezer could stay living in the real world. Episode 10, Happy Birthday Zach, a poisoned gift. We get the Nasty Knight, which is just essentially a black knight. Villain of the week, this is obviously Zach's birthday episode. The sort of standard, everybody's forgotten the lead character's birthday, which was a solid trope throughout the 80s and 90s television. Interesting fact is the images of the first flashback of Nasty Knight come from the original series Super Sentai Zyuranger and the show The Monster Face and Goshai, the Black Ranger from that show. And then episode 11 was No Clowning Around, the Fun Fair of Fear, with the terrifying Pinoctopus. I think this, when Power Rangers first started airing, I don't think I saw the first few episodes, and this might have been one of the very first ones I saw, if not the first. So I do have very distinct memories of this one. Interesting fact is, due to the scripts and requirements, Alpha 5 had to leave the command center for the first time. The robot had to operate in an unusual environment, Billy's garage, where he cures little Sylvia. And there we have episode 11, and we get the Triceratops using its chain horns. It'd be interesting to see if we get anything similar in the build as this continues. Part of me kind of hopes we do. I don't know how it would necessarily be incorporated, but yeah, I would, and I doubt it will be, but I would have liked something like that on this build, just because it's such a standout feature of the Triceratops that it would be nice to have it in such a high-end collector item piece. But there we have it. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I will be back soon, and until then, may the power protect you.